Hey there, it's Catherine at happywithbaby.com, and I'm so excited because Dr. Jacqueline Schoemaker Holmes is going to be joining me today, and we're going to be talking about mom communities. And I know that is a struggle for a lot of the moms that I talk to in my practice here in Sacramento and that I see in other Facebook groups and stuff. And she's created an amazing community. I'm going to see if she's joined us yet. I know she's created a wonderful community. It's called Mummy Voices, so MUMMY Voices. It's a Facebook group that I am fortunate enough to be a part of, and she posts great content on her blog called Eating Her Young, which she doesn't really eat her young, but it's her, how she's been surviving her motherhood journey. So looking forward to having her here, and there she is. So I'm going to add her, and hopefully this goes better than other times, but we'll see. I've been known to have my phone drop and stuff too. So let's see, it says it's adding, so hope all is well, and I'm not kind of crooked here. So any minute, still adding. I love technology and the challenges of it. So all right, so is this it? What happened? Let's see, I'll try again. Working. All right. I guess that's what happens when you go live, is that you just have to deal with all of the unknowns, and I will be editing this and putting it on my blog. So there you are.
Hi!
It worked. I'm so excited.
I just don't have any idea what I'm doing. So
Oh, okay.
It's not you, it's me.
Oh, okay.
So sorry, just let me, I thought I had something in place that was going to work, but of course it's not. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll just hold my phone the whole time.
That's going to be
That's
fun.
casual.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm
this
super
totally
casual.
Works. Super casual.
Does my hair look good? Am I moving
your
around
lipstick.
too much?
I love the lipstick.
Thank you. If I have any on my teeth, let me know.
Okay. I don't notice. So yeah, I think you'll be good. So the fun part about this interview is that Jackie and I have never actually spoken in person before. So this is totally random live, and it should be lots of fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
Good.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
I'm so wobbly. Is that awful?
Do you have something to put it up against to hold it?
For sure. Okay, let me just a second. Just a second. I'm gonna create a tower of stuff here. And it's gonna be wonderful. It's gonna be really good.
Well, isn't that what motherhood's all about, though? It's you're always constantly kind of
there
rolling with. Oh, that's perfect. See, look at that.
There we go.
You just kind of roll with the punches, and
I'm distracted by my hair and lipstick. I'm just gonna look at myself the whole time.
Yeah. So tell us about you. I did a little intro, but you have some amazing. You put out some great memes and some wonderful blogs, and tell us about how you got here. How are you doing this?
Well, I so appreciate being here, and I so appreciate you featuring me and allowing me to talk about myself, which is probably one of my favorite things to do. I'm not gonna lie. But to be honest, this place that I'm in now is a very different place than I was in 3 years ago. So 3 years ago, my daughter was born, and I had this beautiful pregnancy, and I had this, just perfection, I was, doing yoga way into the, I was just, everything was going to be perfect, right? And then 6.5 weeks in, I was diagnosed with postpartum depression, which I was so thankful for, because from the moment of birth and really the birth process, everything was like a steep decline, right? And that's not what you're expecting at all.
No.
And so it took me the last 3 years, not gonna lie, three
Mm-hmm.
years, to dig myself out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And a really huge part of that for me was finding my voice as a mother, finding my identity as a mother,
Mm-hmm.
and sharing that experience with others. It's funny because I used to write a lot for myself,
Mm-hmm.
but especially when I was younger, it was very cathartic. I was an angsty teen, you
Okay.
know, and
I love that.
so so, so writing had always been my outlet, but I
Okay.
didn't need to share with other people,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, but for some reason, it was like telling this truth publicly.
Mm.
That was a huge, huge breakthrough for me, and it was really, really healing. And it took away a lot of that just guilt and
Yeah.
shame that I had, and the really conflicted feelings that I had about being a
Mm-hmm.
mother,
Mm-hmm.
and it just put them out there. And humor has always been my saving grace as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
It just it gets me through everything. So
Right.
so the writing and the humor, and it just all came together. And I think that answers your
Yeah.
question.
So, I hear that from a lot of moms. Like, well, first there's that shame and guilt, and they don't want to say anything because somehow, if we have these negative thoughts or feelings about being a mother, then we're a bad mother, or we shouldn't have been a mother, or whatever comes up in our
Yes.
head. And so then, I hear the story like when I finally told somebody and I realized I wasn't alone and other people had the same similar stories. What made you decide, or what was kind of the catalyst to have you start talking about it? Because I think it's important that we're talking about it, because I mean it happens a lot. Like, motherhood isn't just wonderful all the time for anyone, and I think the more real we are
Really? Is it
about it,
not?
yeah, I'm like, I think the more real we are about it, the better, like, and more support we can give each other. So what made you do it, and how'd you do it, and what would you suggest for other
I just
moms?
I appreciate these questions so much because it just really it sort of helps me not only think through my process but also reflect on how far I've come. So
Mm-hmm.
this is really really helpful for me as well. So thank you,
Yeah.
which you do very well.
Oh, thanks.
Plug for
Oh,
you, you
thank you.
know.
You are wonderful.
Um,
You can
I
come
like
on
to think so.
anytime.
I will actually
Okay,
every
okay,
week, every
okay.
day. Do you have time in your schedule? Because I'll
Sure.
do it. I'll
Right.
do it. I be careful what you wish for.
Yeah,
You know what
right.
I'm saying? Um, okay, so what was I saying? Okay, so it's funny because there's this correlation that's
Mm-hmm.
been sort of uh, demonstrated between women who struggle significantly
Mm-hmm.
with breastfeeding
Mm-hmm.
and postpartum depression. Now, nothing has been sort of causally linked
Right.
yet in the research, but I remember reading. I remember reading something about a woman who had taken her life. She
Mm.
had postpartum depression and she took her life, and her husband was blaming the stress that she had had,
Mm.
um, that was associated with breastfeeding. And I know that breastfeeding and the pressure that I put on myself to breastfeed,
Mm-hmm.
and the sort of culture of
Mm-hmm.
breastfeeding that exists in contemporary sort of motherhood practices, really made me just fall deeper,
Yeah.
much deeper into that depressive state, and so I read this story, and then somehow I stumbled upon, and I can't remember her name right now, but she wrote the book Lactivism.
Mm.
Dr. Jung is her name, and it was like I read my experience. She wrote my
Uh,
experience,
okay.
and I was just like, oh my God, thank God. Do you know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Like this was the first sort of, it was the first sort of time I felt understood. Oh
Yeah.
my God, if I start to cry in this interview, oh my God, but it's probably going to happen.
Okay.
But
I can do
I
crying.
felt I bet you can. I bet you do it very well. You have practice. Um, Okay, so it's, the first time I felt understood is the first time, as you have articulated,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel alone in my
Mm-hmm.
experience, and I didn't feel like it was all my fault. Do you know what
Right.
I mean?
That's huge. Yeah.
Not, it wasn't about, how my body had failed me. It wasn't about how I had failed as a mother. It wasn't about how I was inadequate and that I was never meant to be a mother because I'm not the nurturing type.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't about all these stories that I was telling myself.
Right.
And so I've never done this before, but I wrote her an email,
Yeah.
like a serious giddy fangirl note. Do you know what I mean? Where
Yeah.
I was just like, "Oh my God, this is incredible. Thank you for writing my story. You have no idea." And then there was something about that, writing that email and then her response. And then I heard something on CBC, which is, radio is kind of like NPR here.
Oh, okay.
Um, and they wanted to collect stories about sort of a moment in your life, and then from there it was like I just burst open, like I just
Mm.
wanted to tell my story. There's something profoundly transformational about seeing
Mm-hmm.
your story written on a page,
Mm-hmm.
or seeing your thought
Mm-hmm.
expressed in a meme, or
Right.
reading your experience written in a blog post. And it just opened the floodgates for me.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, and there's so much, I feel like there's so much pressure. We have all these pressures as moms that think we're supposed to do things a certain way, breastfeeding being one of them, and you know you're supposed to parent a certain way, or like all these things we like tell ourselves. And so if we're not meeting that, then somehow we're doing it wrong. And it's so, there's nothing more validating than hearing someone say like, yeah, like it's not your fault, or it's like, there are different ways to do things, or um, there's everything doesn't work for everybody and every family. So
Yeah, and we're all individual women, right? We
right.
all have these individual backstories,
Yeah.
and we all have unique bodies, and
Yeah.
we all have unique birth stories, and we all have unique children. And this idea that there is some panacea that works
Right.
for all women is
Right.
just so infuriating.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, because so much
I
goes
think
into it. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and I think for me the biggest struggle was I just didn't have, mother role model. Like, my
Mm-hmm.
mother is wonderful and fantastic and beautiful and gorgeous and everything, the way that she supported me, but I'm not a I'm not replica of her. I'm not
Right.
we have different interests, and she loves children. She taught elementary school for 35
Oh.
years. That would
Mm-hmm.
drive me over the edge. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, it
Yes.
would,
Yeah. What works for
yeah,
her
it
doesn't work for you. Yeah.
exactly. And so I didn't have this woman who was who I am.
Mm.
So my
Mm.
biggest, issue was I'm not reflected anywhere. So
Mm.
I'm not an appropriate mother. I'm
Oh,
not
yeah.
okay.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? There was a
Yeah.
real struggle
Yeah.
with trying to find an identity as a mother, and trying to find a voice as a mother. And I think a lot of us, even as women, right,
Mm-hmm.
we struggle to find our own voice, and
Right.
we struggle with the pressures and the judgments and the intense scrutiny of
Mm-hmm.
others, right?
Yes.
And so
Yes.
when you put all that into a package, you throw a baby at a woman, and then you're just like, sink or swim,
Yeah, and you're like,
like,
here,
no
learn
wonder.
about this new person and not know any idea what you're
Yeah,
doing, and just, yeah, you should be really good at
yeah.
it. It's natural. It's so
And make
natural.
all these really, oh my God, the whole natural thing. Oh my God. Um, yeah, like, I joke about my natural childbirth. It's like, oh my God, why didn't I realize that I take a Tylenol for a headache? I
Yeah.
probably should have just taken the epidural. Do you know what I mean? Like, if
Yeah.
you take Advil, you might be the type of person that wants an epidural. Like, not across the board,
Right.
but there,
Yeah.
there's not even Tylenol waiting for you at the end, really. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Once
Yeah.
you like have a natural birth, so it's not always a good idea. I'm all over the place. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. Well, I mean, I think a lot of moms are. I feel like you really made a good point there, and something I hear a lot in my office is about like and I think it's that reflection, like my mom was this kind of mom. Either I'm fearful that I'll be like her, like if it was a negative experience, or I'm fearful I'm not like
Mm.
her and she was this wonderful mother. And so if I'm not doing what she did, then I'm not doing the right thing. You know, so it's like if we're not our moms or we are our moms, like it's bad, you know? So it's a challenging, I think it's really hard to figure out who we are going to be as a mom. And then we might, you know, our partner might have their perspective of what a mom should be, and maybe their mom was, you
Mm.
know, a stay-at-home mom and doing all these things, and what, you want to go back to work, and it's not supposed to, that's not how my mom did it. So is that the right thing? Or are our kids getting the best of, like, you know, it can be a lot of questioning from all different places, which can be really hard. And yeah, I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves that things have to be
So
a certain
much.
way. Yeah.
Yeah, and that we have to be a certain way, right?
Right. Right. So tell me about, so you have this amazing Facebook group. How did you get that going? Like what made you decide to do that?
Well, so first of all, I like to go back to I like
Yeah.
to go back to my postpartum depression days,
Okay.
and I have this wonderful friend, Amy, and we became friends in the yoga class because obviously
Okay.
I was like the best. I was the best pregnant woman ever because I was doing yoga,
That's the only
obviously.
time I've done yoga is when I was pregnant.
Yeah, see? Like we just like lose our we're like
Yeah.
these naive pregnant women. We think that yoga is gonna like I don't even know. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like I didn't even anyway, let's not even talk about
Okay.
my birth story. But the point is I did not use one move from my yoga, my prenatal
Oh,
yoga
okay.
class. Maybe happy baby only because, you need to hold your legs up like that to get a baby out,
Oh,
if
okay.
you're laying on your back. Anyway,
Is that what they called it? I don't remember them having names, but it's been a long time since I did
yeah,
it. So
you're like, yoga?
I'm like,
What
happy
does that
baby. I
mean?
don't remember that pose, but okay.
Basically just laying on your back, holding your feet up in the air.
Oh,
Like, it's
okay.
just, yeah.
I love it.
You see,
Okay.
that joke would have landed better had you known the name.
Yes.
So when you have to explain your joke, it's not funny. So, okay.
Somebody's going to get it though.
Um, well, somebody thinks that's hilarious. So, so Amy was wonderful. She had a baby 4 months before me,
See, someone
and
did post happy baby, laugh out loud. Oh,
see,
and my
oh,
website
thank
is
you.
happy with baby. Maybe that's why it needs to be called like happy with baby pose or something.
Oh no.
Hi, Jackie.
Yeah,
Sorry. That's
Jackie,
another
you
Jackie.
rock.
Yeah.
And mostly because you have the same name as me. So
Yes.
now we're best friends. I
Yes.
hope that's all right. Okay. So Amy, she knew that I was struggling, and she invited me to this group of moms that she was part of.
Mm-hmm.
And I told myself, as a naive pregnant woman, that I was never going to be a part of a mommy group,
Mm.
right? Because there's a lot of things that we denigrate,
Mm-hmm.
particularly me as a gender scholar and a feminist, a critical feminist sociologist. I have these ideas about the world and about who I am and about what I
Mm-hmm.
reject, and it's taken a lot of soul searching to realize that a lot of what I reject is what it means to be a mother. And I think some of
Mm.
that's really positive and some of it is not so positive,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I remember I sort of relented and I went to these mommy group sessions because I was like, well, what else do you do with a baby? Like it's
Yeah.
just the that just like Groundhog Day
Yeah.
of feeding, and I just thought I was going to go out of my mind. I was going out of my mind. Let's be clear. But but I remember I was just still so stuck in this before me,
Mm.
this before version of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember telling Amy, who had graciously, right, invited me into this like, group of women, to this village,
Mm-hmm.
to this community that I had found it boring.
Oh,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
And because I'm a jerk, that's like I was like, oh, that's boring. And those women actually ended up just like saving
Yeah.
the shred of sanity that I had, right?
Right.
Like they became my people. We still have a group on Facebook. And I guess it kind of grew from that
Mm.
real life experience where I
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh my God, women need a village.
Yeah.
And I don't care how cliche that is. Um, it's just the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And it really needs to be actualized.
Right.
And I don't care if it's online, if it's
Yeah.
in, whatever, wherever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we need that space, and we need it to be by and for mothers, and we
Mm.
need it to be non-judgmental and supportive.
Yes.
Because so many of these spaces, right, like the nursing groups and the this and the that, they're so judgmental,
Mm-hmm.
right? And everybody has the best way,
Right.
right?
Right.
And I couldn't tolerate those groups. Like I couldn't be in them.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was really detrimental to my mental health,
Right.
right?
Right.
To be in these spaces where people who already feel so fragile and vulnerable and raw
Mm-hmm.
are getting advice thrown at them,
Right.
and you know you're doing this wrong thrown at them. It's too much.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, And so how do you keep yours? It's like I run a Facebook group. It's very small because it started off as just like an in-person meetup group for the very same reason that you mentioned. It's like I was fortunate enough to join a mom's group after my son was born and connected with a few moms that we still occasionally get together now that our kids are 9 years old. Not nearly as often, and I think it's been a while, and I kind of miss them. But um,
Right.
like how do you, so then I was like, that was the thing. It was like, and I talked to so many moms that can't find their people, they can't find their tribe of who to connect with. Like they've tried different groups and they feel like they don't belong, or they feel like they're being judged because they're not, maybe they're not breastfeeding, or maybe they're not having baby wearing, or whatever it is that they're feeling they're not doing it enough. And maybe it's not even always like what's being told to them, but somehow a perception that they have too, like they're feeling like they're not doing it
Mhm.
right, like other people. So what, like how do you keep yours not judgmental, and like how do you, like, do you encourage other people to connect with other moms and stuff?
Yeah, I think, it's such a great question. And I think, there's something honestly like very magical about mummy
Mm-hmm.
voices, because it's like women who are in the group, they get it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like they just get it. And I wonder if it's because they kind of self-select in.
Right.
Many people are people that I know.
Mm-hmm.
And then those people invite people they know, and
Right.
it sort of snowballs like that. But to be honest, I think that these women just get it. Like
Yeah.
they just get that it's a space where it's not always easy not
Yeah.
to sort of give your opinion, or give your advice, but we have this really sort of special practice where it's like if somebody wants advice, they will ask for it.
Mm-hmm.
They will say, "This is what I'm struggling with. Can I have the advice?"
Yeah.
Rather than, and it's just supportive. It's just you know, I think I'm going to take a little bit of credit here because
Yeah.
I've really put myself out there in an honest way.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like I, I have on my blog, I, I just sort of like, I was in a space about over a year ago when I started the blog, where I really just needed to like rip myself
Mm-hmm.
open and just get it all out. You know what I mean? I was angry, I was raw, I was shameful, I was
Mm-hmm.
all of these things, and I just had to rip it out, And so I think that all of that kind of, that's how people most often talk about my writing, that it's
Mm-hmm.
raw.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that bleeds into the group. I'm
Mm-hmm.
really using some graphic terminology here,
Yeah.
but truly, I think it does. I think it seeps in, um, because it's just like we don't need any more bullshit in our lives. Our
Mm-hmm.
lives are hard enough. They're
Mm-hmm.
difficult enough, right? No matter how many children that you're raising,
Mm-hmm.
you're you're juggling all of these things, you're stressed.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why can't we have a refuge, you
Right,
know?
right.
Why can't we have a refuge where we're raw and vulnerable, and that there are these beautiful women who are going to encircle us,
Mm-hmm.
right, when we ask for help and say, how can we help? What can we do? This has worked for me.
Yeah,
You know, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for authenticity,
yeah,
right? We're
yeah.
looking for authenticity, and we're looking for community,
Mm-hmm.
and we're tired of the bullshit
Yeah,
discourses of motherhood,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and I think it's like
Yeah.
we need that validation too. Like, right? Like it's like I don't have to be doing it the way you do to validate. Like it's hard, whatever, it's hard or it's, you're having challenges and it doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong. It's just, it's just difficult at times. So,
Yes, and the fact that women don't even get a chance to say it's difficult sometimes because of the circumstances of their
mhm.
life, as you said, maybe expectations, internal,
Yeah,
external, whatever it is, right? Some women don't even get the space to say,
yeah,
this is hard, this sucks, I'm not enjoying myself,
yeah,
I'm not enjoying every minute,
yeah.
right? Um, which is so annoying, right? To be
Hmm.
told when you're just struggling to keep your head above
Yeah,
water, you know?
yeah, yeah.
We talk a lot about body issues and
Right.
relationship issues and all of those things, right?
Hmm.
Because it's a
All of
big
it's impacted.
fat money package, right?
Yeah,
Like it's all together.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh, and I think it's like I feel like what happens sometimes, or what I'll have moms tell me, and I don't know if you hear this, like if they say like if I complain or if I say something, then someone will tell me how I it's because I'm doing it wrong. Like I can't just say, like, oh, you know, at night we're having difficulty sleep is an issue, and it's like, oh well, you're doing it wrong because you're co-sleeping, or you're doing it wrong because the baby's
Because you're
in the
not
other room,
co-sleeping.
right? Like, so like why can't I just be like, help me figure it out the way I want to do it? And I think I always try to tell people there's not one right way, and I have 2 kids now, and I can totally vouch for this, because what I thought was right with one kid is totally different with the other one. And we've
Yeah.
had to figure things out and now balance the two of them, So there's not one right way to do it. It's like figuring out what works for your family and your children as individuals too, which could be, I want to say bad word, show, like,
Do
I don't know if you can
it. I
say
just said
a
a bad
shit
word.
show. Like
You
it's
should probably
totally,
say a bad word too.
I feel like it could totally be a shit show sometimes, and it's like, oh my gosh, why is it? I mean, you don't know what you're doing until you've like try it out, right?
No, absolutely. And I think to your point, first of all, you should never have more than one child. Like, I'm sorry. Just if we're giving out
Yeah,
advice,
yeah, right. I know.
you've
Or
made a
you know what?
horrible life
You can't
decision.
just have
You
one
know,
child. That's the wrong thing to
yeah,
do. You're
exactly.
ruining your child by having only one. What a terrible
Yes,
person you
I know.
are. Just so you
I
know.
know. She's going to be a monster. I know. It's fine. It's fine. Um, but yeah, I just think I think yeah, it's really really it's really really hard,
Yeah,
and to just get advice at every turn is just
yeah,
it's obnoxious, you know?
yeah.
It really is.
Or like even the
Yeah.
advice, like I feel like this theme has come up. In fact, I'm in the process of writing a blog about this, but this theme has come up this week with several clients about the unsolicited advice from family members, where it's like,
Mm.
oh, well, you really should try it this way, or we did it like this, and feeling like they already don't know what they're doing. And then they have their in-laws or maybe even their own mother or somebody telling them like that they're doing it wrong. So feeling like, oh my gosh, like I can't take this, and being like, I mean, I'm totally sensitive to that too, even though I can say like, well, you don't have to take it on and you can just remind them. But it's like, it's hard to not
No, I know. I
like,
know. I know
stop
sometimes
telling me
like
what to
entering
do.
sometimes entering sort of family scenarios, you're just like, so what am I gonna get triggered by
Mm-hmm.
today? Like, what's gonna happen where I'm just like, oh my God, I'm gonna keep thinking about that.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, I think that we need to acknowledge the vulnerability and like the
Mm-hmm.
vulnerability that having children this space,
Yeah.
how vulnerable it is having children, period.
Yeah.
I don't care what age they are. Do you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Or
It
what
doesn't
age
stop.
you are,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
As a mother,
And
it doesn't
and
matter.
and the thing is, I think that's why I think, I have this whole sort of issue around, this self-sacrificial mother,
Mm.
this idea that she always puts her children first and all
Mm-hmm.
this kind of stuff. Like I just, it makes me nuts because it's like women, mothers have to have a really, really strong sense of themselves
Yes.
because motherhood makes us fundamentally insecure.
Yes.
It rips the ground out from under us, and then we're supposed to grin and bear all of these scenarios that we have to walk through,
Mm-hmm.
that are, sort of landmined with judgment and opinion
Mm-hmm.
and advice,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and so I really think that it's important that we sort of get our house in order. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? Like
Yeah.
in terms of who we are as parents. Like as soon as I started embracing that, like the way that I do things, and I started brushing comments off with humor,
Mm.
I could just function again in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I remember, when my daughter was quite young and she'd been throwing up everywhere.
Yeah.
When you have a very, an infant and they vomit all over you for like an entire day, and you're just like, I just want to murder something. You know what I mean? Like, not my child, of
Yeah.
course. Don't put your child in the oven.
Yeah.
That's rule number one.
Right.
But you're sort of like beside yourself. And then I got out of the house the next day or something because
Mm-hmm.
she was a bit better. My mother was able to look after her, and I was in a group of women, and I said, one of them knew my child had been sick, and I sort of explained that it had been a total puke fest and whatever nightmare. And this woman says to me in the group, she says, "It's so hard to be away from your children when they're sick." And I was like, "What?" Like,
You're like,
I was like,
no,
I
because
could
I'm
not
tired of
wait
cleaning
to
up
get away
after.
from her.
Yeah.
Like, like I'm just like, what
Yeah.
are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I had, so I kind of had that reaction. I was like,
Yeah.
it's so hard to be with them.
Yeah.
And then she was like utterly disgusted with me. Do you know what I mean? Because
Mm.
I had like vocalized this truth,
Mm-hmm.
that, yeah, granted, may not have been her truth. Do you
Right.
know what I mean? Like I'm not saying that my truth speaks for everyone's
Right.
truth. I'm just saying that it's almost like there are so many unspoken truths about motherhood,
Yeah.
like how awful it is a lot of the time,
Yeah.
some of the time, a percentage of the time, that it's like people just shut you down.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember my counselor telling me at the time, like, basically, you're going to have to thicken your skin
Mm.
if you are going to say blatant truths about motherhood,
Right.
because people don't like,
No.
you know, they don't like it.
No. No. Well, and why can't we have our own truths? Like, why does my
Why
truth have to
can't
be your
we?
truth? Like, you know?
Exactly. And that goes back to Mummy Voices. It's
Yeah.
like what a beautiful community,
Yeah.
because these women accept that your truth doesn't have to be their
Mm-hmm.
truth, that your way doesn't have to be their
And
way,
because,
that
yeah. And it doesn't, because you do it that way doesn't make me less of a mom because I don't do it that way, which I
oh
think
my
sometimes
God, yeah.
happens. And then that's why we get defensive. And it's like, oh, what? You leave your child when they're ill, or you're glad to be away? Like, yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. And I think again it goes back to that pressure. It goes back to the pressure of the performance of
Mm-hmm.
motherhood. We have to perform motherhood in very particular ways in order to be acceptable. Do you
Yes.
know what I'm
Like you
saying?
don't say
Like
certain, yeah.
in order to be acceptable mothers, you have to do certain things and say
Mm-hmm.
certain things. It's really fundamentally tied to being an acceptable woman. Do you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
Like in
Yeah.
order to be a proper woman who's properly feminine, you have to be induced particular things. You can't
Yes.
be too sexual, you can't have too much fun, you can't, like
Yeah.
there's all of these things, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so they're fundamentally tied together, right?
Right.
There are very similar scripts for mothers, except they're more restrictive and they're more suffocating.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
It's interesting. so I teach this workshop. I co-facilitate with my husband, like surviving that first year, your relationship that first year. And the further I
I
get
saw
out
that. I
from
love
having
that.
new babies, like, because we're at 5 and 9 years out, there's been times where I'll be like, you can't say certain things. I'll tell my husband because I'm like, oh, about breastfeeding or about different things. Because I'll be like, monitor what you say. Like, I don't want. And now I'm like, yeah, I don't care anymore because I know more of the truth. I'm more comfortable with it. But like in the beginning, it was like, oh, I don't want them to think a certain way that I think a certain way. And it does happen. Like I monitor myself. Well, I'm a therapist, right? So there's certain things I monitor in the office. But I monitor myself a lot, like on social media or whatever. Like, you know, definitely around breastfeeding, definitely around just all sorts of different things like that because this fear. And I think the more comfortable I get, the easier it is to do it because I know what's important. I know what's helpful for the clients that I work with and stuff like that. But it's really hard. It's Why can't we just have our opinions about things and not be like a big deal about it? Like different opinions, different views make the world go round and makes our children and makes their lives. And it's all like, I think it's good, right? Like that's how we get things done, is having different perspectives and different views on things. But somehow I feel like with motherhood, we're supposed to all be doing it the same way, or that feeling that
I know.
pressure.
And based on contradictory advice as well. Do you
Oh,
know what
it's
I'm
all
saying? Like
contradictory.
one study will contradict another,
Yes,
right?
all the time.
And there are a lot of really powerful discourses, right, about motherhood, like basically you're like a monster if you don't breastfeed. There's like, do you know what I mean? There's certain things like if you don't do things by the recommendations, then you're whatever, or if you do, you're not natural enough or something. You know
Yes.
what I mean? There are
Yeah.
these competing discourses that are very, very powerful, and I think women become very attached to them. They become very like emotionally attached to them and self-identified with them. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then so it's like an attack on one's personality,
Right.
one's fundamental values and things
Right.
like that. Because I know that people, like, for example, I don't talk about my breastfeeding experience very much because people can't sort of tolerate,
No.
um, they just can't tolerate it. It's like there's only one way. Do you know
Yes.
what I mean?
Oh,
And they
yes.
just and I think that what's interesting is that women are trying to guard themselves against by having this self-identification and by aligning their values so
Yes.
closely with one particular kind of parenting. They're really trying to guard themselves against that insecurity that they feel, that we all
Yeah.
feel as mothers, right?
Right.
And what they don't realize is that they're perpetuating it for other mothers because they don't know, they do know, but maybe they put to the back of their mind how much it hurts another person to have their experience denigrated or judged or whatever it is, when
Right.
really and fundamentally and at the very ground level, we're all just doing our
Right. Well,
best.
and we never know what the full story is behind why a mother's not
Exactly.
breastfeeding. I knew a mother who apparently didn't have any milk ducts, right? So she could not physically breastfeed her child. Like she did not produce the milk, right? And
Yes.
people would still give her grief about that. Or like why somebody doesn't have another child, like, and people make comments and stuff like that. And it's like, A, maybe they don't want to, maybe they can't, maybe like all these things. It's like, why are we, you know, why do we do that to each other? How
Yeah.
do we stop? Tell us how
Yeah.
to stop, Jackie. Like, how do you want to
Oh,
end today?
well,
Tell us how to stop doing
because
that.
I have all the answers
Yes.
in the world. But no, I really do. I do have one answer
Okay.
for that, and it's something that I think that Mummy Voices, as a community, as a village, as a group of beautiful women who just want to support each other, it's speak your truth, right? It's be honest with other women. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you open up, other women will say, "Oh my God, thank you for saying that. Thank you for
Yes.
talking about
Yes.
it." Right? So be the example, be the leader, right?
Right.
Among your group of friends, be honest, authentic, open, raw, vulnerable, whatever you need to be,
Yeah.
because what I think we don't all understand
Yeah.
is that trying to fit into these perfect idealized versions of motherhood, of what a mother is really, really damaging us as women, as friends, as a community, as a sisterhood.
Right.
I really believe that.
Yeah. Oh, and what I've found, and tell me if you've experienced the same thing in the mom groups, either I've been in personally or even have hosted professionally, is that every time a mom shares an experience, there's always another mom that says, oh my gosh, I went through something similar, or I felt that same way. I've never had someone sit there and everyone was like, oh God, you're unique. Like, that's never happened to me. Like, that doesn't happen. Like, we all, like, probably the
Yes.
feeling we've had or experience we've had is so similar to what somebody else is feeling. And it's so validating to have that. And,
Yes.
so be the one, speak up, because somebody else is going to be like, oh my gosh, yes, I felt that way too.
Yes.
Or I went
Yes.
through that
You're
too.
never
You're never
you're never
alone.
going to get a room of blank stares that are just like, really? Like, while women have not had the exact same experience as
Yes.
you, there's always a bridge.
Yes.
We need to build those bridges. We
Yes.
do not want to put walls
Yes.
to other women and to
Yeah.
other women's experiences.
Yes, yes. So I know we're coming up close here to an hour. I don't want to take too much of your time, but
Are we already? Oh
well,
my
it's like
God.
20 till or whatever, or a little after, or like 19 till.
I could do this all night,
Okay.
just so you know.
And I think people would love to hear us talk all night too. But tell me, like, what would you suggest to a mom that's like struggling to find her tribe of moms or to connect with other moms in her community? Do you have suggestions for her?
I do. I mean, so I'm going to sort of shamelessly plug Mommy Voices because I think it's just a wonderful space, and I think that I know that all women are welcome, and anyone who self-identifies as a mother, and all that kind of thing. So certainly, if you need a place to come, if you want a place to come, then Mommy Voices is there for you. There's lots, right? It's not just Mommy Voices. There are a lot. I think that Mommy Voices is a very unique community, and it's full of compassionate women. But you will find that in other
Right.
spaces, right? So experiment, right? Maybe join a number of things. Maybe you're really into breastfeeding. Maybe you're really into baby wearing. Maybe you're really struggling with an anxious child, right? Like, find those online and offline spaces where you can go. I think that sometimes, we, even if we're struggling with something, we sort of tell ourselves, say we're struggling with an anxious child or something like that. We tell ourselves, oh, well, but I'm a good enough parent to handle it, so I don't need to go to a, peer support group for people with anxious children, because that's for people who have like nutty children and I don't want to go there. You know what I mean? Like, I think sometimes we self-select out of things because we want to be perceived and we want to perceive ourselves as really good parents. And so, I guess my advice there would just be take advantage of, those community resources. There are always things like around here we have, baby groups where you can just go. I didn't really like those. I found them full of anxious new mothers, which I was one of, and so it just kind of
Made you
made
more
me
anxious?
weird. It made me weirder.
Oh,
That's
okay.
not,
Yeah. Yeah.
no, more anxious is what I mean, but I'm just joking.
Yeah.
Uh, but I loved the library program. And
Yes.
so I went to the library because I felt comfortable there. I was like, I feel comfortable in the library. I've always felt comfortable in the
Yeah.
library,
Yeah.
So go where you feel comfortable and you will find community there as well, right? Um, but even if you're in the playground, right? Even if you take your child to the park, just try to connect with another mother,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
be real and just, be open. And, the right people will walk through your open door.
Right. Right.
Some will sort of think that you're a weirdo and maybe a crazy person, and
Yeah.
you come to the park to talk to everybody, and whatever, maybe you do. That's your business. But, you will make those connections with the right people.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, it's
and
like keep putting yourself
if you
out there, right? Because no
exactly,
two
exactly.
groups are created this are the same, And so I think it's like
Yeah.
keep trying new things until you can like you find the right fit for you, which can take a
Yes.
while.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
think it's like
It can.
getting encouragement to keep going. And I think it can be especially hard. Like I'm definitely more introverted, so it's like hard. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to go to this new place. I don't know anybody. And I think that's where it's like having a baby has totally changed me. And like, oh, I just started talking to random people like in line at the grocery store or whatever, because I was like desperate to like talk to people. But so now it's like I can start conversations either. Like I host my own group, like all those things that I probably would not have done previously. But I think it's like keep putting yourself out there and trying, and and get encouragement from other people, other moms. Like ask for help, ask for
Oh,
support,
yes.
from your partner
Yeah.
too. If it's like I had a client that her husband would like call her and remind her to go before group because he wanted her to get that support. So if you need that you need that extra push, like ask for it and get that.
Yes, yes. And just realize that you don't have to do it all alone. Even,
Yeah.
I was like in the throes of postpartum depression and I like wouldn't let people, fold my towels when they
Yeah.
can, you know what I mean? Like I was just like, it's like I think sometimes we feel like we have to be in so much control so that we don't fall apart,
Yeah.
and take it from someone who has lost it all, right? Like lost everything she's ever known, every shred of her sense of self, right? Take it from me. You can come back, you can do it, and you don't need to do it on your own because without other people,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here right now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. We need other
So
people.
we do. It does not make you a bad mother
No.
to say I need help and I can't do
Yeah.
everything on my own.
Yeah,
It just
absolutely. It
it's
makes you a
so
strong
important.
mother to ask for help. And we all need
It
it. We
really,
all
really
need it
does.
at some point or another. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here. Do you have any you have so much wisdom to share, so I can't wait to come up with some little memes for our conversation. But do you have any parting wisdom or thoughts that you want to share before we end?
Um, I don't know. I guess I have to say that I love what you're doing.
Oh, thank
I
you.
think it's so important. I love that you are focused on this really sort of difficult time and the transition and all that kind of thing. I think I really would have benefited from knowing that someone like you is out there. And so please keep doing what you're
Oh,
doing.
thank you. Thank you. That's
And
sweet.
no, my pleasure. And thank you so much for having me on. And I hope we do this
I
again really
know.
soon because
Yeah.
it was so
I think
fun.
we could come up with a lot more to talk about. So, yeah, this was
Oh,
great.
for
Yeah.
sure. Yes.
We could go on
No,
and
it was
on about
really.
motherhood.
Listen, I could go on and on, believe me.
Yes.
But yeah, just thank you, and thank you for allowing me to express how much I get out of this community, out of this village, and yeah,
Right. And so I think
thanks.
it's like, I mean, I think that's a good, perfect thing. It's like if you don't have one, like create your own community, right?
That is, yes, 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 yes. If you
So,
don't see yourself reflected
yeah.
elsewhere, then take the lead, then be the leader,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. I know it's later there than it is
Oh
here,
no,
but thank
then
you
we're
for your
going in and
time,
out.
and I'll look forward to talking
Ah,
with you soon.
okay, yes.
All
Mwah,
right,
mwah,
bye.
mwah. Nice to see you.
Bye,
Bye.
Jackie.
Bye.